Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry. It's your boy Karagol Gaming, and you know how we do things around here. It's time to finally actually start the festival itself, so let's get into it.
本当に伝えたいのは違う言葉だった。本当に感じたいのは違う心だった。すれ違いが溝を生み、ためらいの気持ちが人を恐怖へと沈ませる。もう誰も止められない。冷たい感情がむき出しの心を深く残酷にえぐってゆく。綿流し。なぜあの時とつぶやく後悔の言葉。それはもはや虚しい響きだった。わあ、ケイチくんだ。おはようなんだよ。
Rena was ecstatically waving her arms at me, already brimming with energy.
おはようって、もう夕方だぜ。
That's what it looks like. It looks like sundown, dude.
こんにちは、だろ。
でも、今日ケイチくんにする最初の挨拶だから、やっぱりおはようがいいな。
You are fucking out of your mind, dude.
わかった。じゃあ、おはようでいい。おはよう、レナ。
I grabbed Rena's head and rubbed it with my hand. Can you stop grabbing people, dog? Please? She squirmed, reveling in the motion like a cat.
やっほー、ケイちゃん。
Are you Mion or are you Shion?
昨日は申し訳なかったね。黙って帰っちゃってさ。
Still not convinced.
さあ、それを言うなら俺の方が悪かった。ミオをずっと待たせっぱなしでごめんな。
昨日のお祭りの準備のことかな。どうだったケイチくん。しっかりとお仕事してた？
The slight muscle pain throughout my body and my sluggish movements were already obvious.
頑張ってたよ。へばってたけどね。
I grinned dryly and the three of us break into laughter.
サトコとリカちゃんは祭り会場で合流か？
リカちゃんはほら、大切なお勤めがあるから昨日からずっと。さとこちゃんもそのお供だそうだから、もう二人とも神社にいるよ。
Right, I just remembered. Today was Rika-chan's big performance. She had been practicing especially hard for this day. As her friend, I needed to make sure I went and cheered her on.
よっしゃ、早速行こうぜ。
As we got closer to the shrine, we started passing by more people and seeing a lot of parked cars. It began to get noisier too. I thought I could hear something like a Bond dance song. What the fuck is a Bond dance song? Relax, comment section. You don't have to answer that. I can Google. I got Google too. Relax. After the episode, okay? Without being able to restrain my impatience, I dashed up the entire flight of stone stairs. Okay, I didn't mean it. You can tell me. Tell me in the comment section. Go on.
ケイチくん早いよ。待って。
たくケイちゃん、お子様なんだからな。
Whoa! The shrine grounds, it looks like the last chapter! They were packed with people. It was a festival if I ever saw one.
わあ、今年も立派だね。すごいね。
ひなみざわ中から出てきてるんだろうな。ありゃ、君吉分家のおじいさんまで来てるじゃない。
Was like a Yakuza thing?
あのじいさん、去年の綿流しからずっと体調崩してたんだけど、元気になったみたいだね。
Yeah, there were a lot of villagers here that I didn't really know. They must have all been pouring in just for today.
あ、さとこちゃんだ。あら、皆さんでございますの。こんにちはですわ。
よう、サトコ。今日はすごい人手だよな。はぐれて迷子になる。
誰が迷子になるんですの？
Satsuko too seems somehow energetic. Of course, I'm the same way.
あれ？リカちゃんは？まだリカは村長さんたちと挨拶してましたですわ。すぐに来るでございますわよ。
I see. Rika-chan is the shrine maiden for today's festival after all. It's probably a pain for her to say hello to all the elders.
実に大変なのですよ。こんにちはなのです。
Konnichiwa and shit.
リカちゃん、お持ち帰り。
Rika-chan wore an immaculate shrine maiden outfit that looked fresh off the shelves. It was a perfect fit for her somehow mystical appearance.
どう？丈とか長すぎない？バッチャからもしも袖がかかるようならって安全ピンを預かってきてるんだけど。
大丈夫なのです。実に快適なのですよ。
As she spoke, she began to do some twists and stretches.
いいよね、これかいいよね。
There was approximately one person here getting a nosebleed from watching Rika-chan move.
ケイチ君はかいいと思わないかな。思わないならレナノになっちゃうからお持ち帰り。
I would love to pay a visit to your home sometime, see all the skeletons you got in your closet.
すごく可愛いと思うぞ。かなり活かす。不敬のふりをして写真を撮りまくりたいくらいだ。2点から撮影して立体視できるようにすれば、立体の生リカちゃんが自宅でいつでももとい眺め放題。
What?
いいね。
Rena's eyes and mine glittered with stars as our noses bled and we drooled.
リカ、あいつらに近寄ると大変ですわよ。地下室とかに閉じ込められるかもしれないのです。
I don't know if this is like foreshadowing or some shit, but it is creepy.
その割にはリカちゃん楽し。
ミーがひどいことを言うのですよ。
We all laughed together again.
じゃもたもたしないで祭り用もあるかね。リカちゃんの出番までそう時間がないでしょ。
そうだな。よっしゃ行こうぜみんな。
よー
Yo!
園崎のお嬢ちゃんじゃねえの。食ってきな。豚肉たっぷりの焼きそばだぜよ。今年はイカリングまで入ってるボリューム派よ。
へい親父、今年の焼きそばもなかなか力作じゃないの。イカまで入れるとは今年は奮発してるね。
へえ、美味しいね。
ああ、イカってのは食ってもうまいが、それ以上に匂いが香ばしいんだよな。軟弱になりがちな歯ごたえも実に見事に補ってる。イカと豚肉のボリューム感は実に素晴らしい。悪くない出来だ。
へえ、ケイちゃんって何気に料理番組の司会とかに向いてるね。
ケイチ君が美味しそうに食べてると、なんだかいつもよりもずっと美味しそうに感じるもんね。
俺はうまいものはうまいっていう主義なんだよ。だから俺がうまいっていうものはとりあえず試してみる価値があると思うぞ。
ではケイチ、この焼きそばの評価を改めてどうぞなのですよ。
一言で言うとだ、うまい。胃袋がもう一つあるんなら迷わずもう一つ買ってるな。
Having heard my 3-star rating, a whole line of people suddenly formed in front of the yakisoba stand.
おお、すごいよ。
Homeboy better pay me for this advertisement.
ケイちゃんがあんまりにも美味しそうに言うもんだから集客効果バッチリだわ。やるね。
It was nothing to brag about, but I still decided to stick out my chest and put on airs. Mm-hmm.
あら、そうなんですの？では、私も挑戦してみましたよ。おじさん、たこ焼き一つくださいますこと？
Sadako bought a stick of takoyaki, balls of fried octopus from the adjacent stand, and after blowing on it, put one of them into her mouth.
どうかな、さとこちゃん。美味しい評価が出るなら、レナも買うよ。
Chomp chomp, chew chew, go.
さあ、料理評論家の北条さと子審査員のご感想をどうぞ。
うーん。
Though Though she was all for it a moment ago, Satoko hesitated to give her thoughts. Hey now, what's the matter? Everyone else takes one of their own and puts it into their mouths.
あれれ、レナのは外れだね。僕のも外れです。
Is it super salty?
タコさんが入ってないのです。
This takoyaki vendor. Could this be some sort of summer festival only octopus free takoyaki stand? An evil takoyaki stand that skimped on the octopus because they figured it would make them good money today.
あ、私のには入ってたわ。うん。タコが入ってる分には十分うまいよ。
このタコなしたこ焼きをどう美味しそうに解説すればいいんですの？
So octopus is so good that it makes or breaks the meal? Everyone wondered about that. Our quizzical looks seemed to be drawing equally dubious stares from the people in line.
こんなのはどうか。たこ焼きなのにタコが入ってないからとってもヘルシー。タコの嫌いな人でも食べられる美味しいたこ焼き。
After hearing that, several surprised guests left the line. It had the exact opposite effect.
じゃあ次は私が挑戦するよ。小麦粉やネギ、紅生姜の味などの素朴さをしっとりと味わわせてくれる自信作。タコが入ってない分だけ素材の味が程よく。
It wasn't half bad, but after hearing that there was no octopus in it clause, even more people left the line.
リカちゃんは何かいいコメントはあるか？率直でいいぞ。
これで400円は高いのです。
That was too honest. Even more customers leave the line, dealing a lethal blow. There were other takoyaki stands around after all.
いやー、なんか私らとんでもないことをしてるような。ほら、サトコ、あんたが始めたことなんだからビシッとここで逆転させなさいよ。
無理でございますわ。タコの入っていないたこ焼きなんてどう褒めればいいんですの？
Final verdict, this shit is whack. You idiot! Satoko's angry outburst was the finishing blow. Pack it up, boys, we're done here.
お客さんみんないなくなっちゃった。あれれ、おじさん睨んでる。
We're in trouble, alright.
なんでだろう。はあ。
There's no saving this crowd. Perhaps I, Keiichi Maibara-sama, will lend a generous hand.
ケイイチならきっとなんとかできますですよ。タコなしたこ焼き屋さんを助けてあげてほしいのです。
笑顔でトゲのあることを言うな。まあ分かった。俺がプロの技を見せてやるからよく見てろよ。
I shoved a stick into an octopusless takoyaki and crammed it into my mouth. As before, there wasn't any octopus in it, but Mion's had some in it. That was the important point.
このたこ焼き屋の親父さんは本当の意味でたこ焼きが好きなんだ。いや、愛してると言っていい。
Everyone gasped in surprise, including the takoyaki vendor glaring at
あの
us.
親父さんは本当にたこ焼きが大好きなんだ。大好きだからこそいい加減なたこ焼きを作りたくないんだ。そうだね、親父さん。
The takoyaki vendor looked down, unsure. Those watching were listening intently, wanting to know why octopusless takoyaki deserved such a high rating.
でもケイチさん、そんなにたこ焼きが大好きならどうしてタコなしたこ焼きなんか作りますの？
Maybe the order didn't come in, maybe he couldn't afford it.
たこ焼きに対する裏切りではございませんの？
Maybe his pot fell over.
そうだな、ある意味裏切りだ。だがこれは親父さんにとっての最大限の妥協点なんだ。親父さんは今日だって本当のたこ焼きを作ってるよ。でもそれはこの中のほんの一つか二つでしかない。
まあそうだね。私の食べた一つにはタコは入ってたし、タコが入ってる分にはそんなに悪い味じゃなかったよ。
そう、それが本物のたこ焼きだ。それ以外のたこ焼きは 8個入ってなきゃたこ焼きじゃないという一般人の先入観への最大限の妥協なんだ。
ケイチ君の言う意味がわからないよ。どうして本物は一つで他は偽物なのかな
その秘密はタコにあるんだ。親父さん、このタコ本物の明石のタコだね。近年明石のタコの水揚げは激減してとても高騰しているんだ。たこ焼きなんかにとても使えないようなとても高い値段になってしまってるんだ。
Then the man, who had been looking down this whole time, mumbled.
ああ、そうよ。明石のタコはすごく高いんだよ。
でも親父さんは明石のタコにこだわったんだ。安物のいい加減なタコを使えばいくらでもごまかせるのに。明石のじゃないのに明石というのぼりを立てて販売してるインチキたこ焼き屋は親父さんはごまかさなかった。タコは明石、この一点だけを堅くなに譲らなかったんだ。親父さんはたこ焼きを愛してた。だから嘘をつけなかった。でもどうしても一点だけ強いられる妥協点があったんだ。
それは何ですの？
数さ。たこ焼きってのは一船8個がポピュラーだ。いくら本物の明石のタコだからって言って400円で1個だけってわけにはいかないだろ。でも8個にしなくては買ってもらえない。だから親父さんは涙を飲んだ。本物のたこ焼きを1つ作るために残り7個に嘘をつくしかなかったんだ。
This man could definitely be, like, Phoenix Wright's protege, I guess? The octopus-free takoyaki vendor burst into tears. I gently clapped one of his shoulders.
みんなが何と言おうと俺はあんたの純粋さを忘れない。あんたこそは本物のたこ焼き屋なんだ。あんただけがたこ焼き屋を名乗っていいんだ。
How's that for voice acting, bitches? As I embraced the shoulders of this man, shedding his manly tears, those watching delivered a round of applause, moved by my speech.
さあみんな、この本物のたこ焼き屋のたこ焼きをどうかこんな純粋な男を大事にしなくてどうして本当のたこ焼き道が守れようか。みんなが食わないなら俺が食うぞ。
Knock yourself out, dog.
見てた人たちがみんな並ぶよ。ケイチくん、やったやった。
たこ焼きが美味しそうに感じたってよりケイちゃんの味演説が面白かったからだろうね。ケイちゃんってガマの油売りとかやったらかなりウケるかもしれない。
There's a hustler in him.
スーパーの実演販売でもやればウケそうですよ。怪しい万能包丁とか売りつける仕事に向いてそうですわね。
Absolutely stunned at my successful pitch, the guy manning the stall next to this one called out to me. You want a part-time gig,
おい
son?
おい兄ちゃんたち、うちのあんず飴も頼むよ。
Doesn't miss a beat, this one.
よし、要領はつかめただろう。今度はレナが行け。
よーし、頑張るよ。はう、あんず飴が冷えててとっても美味しいんだよ。水飴の上にね、ちょこんってあんずが乗ってるの。はう、かわいいね。お持ち帰り。はう。
It looks like she lost herself in this midway through, but a girl giving it such a natural praise was itself bringing in some customers. A line was quickly forming behind Rena.
今度はお好み焼き屋だ。
These motherfuckers are lemmings, I swear to God.
サトコ行け。
焼きそばに揚げ玉入りでカリカリなのがとっても美味しいでございますわね。大きなベーコンが丸ごと敷いてあってかじるとほらビローンって出てきてはっはっはっ。
おお、うまいうまい。それなら俺も食ってみたくなる。
Then, a huge line formed at my words. What on earth is this? So basically, all these onlookers are just following us around to all the stands.
みんなのを聞いてから食べるといつもよりずっと美味しく感じるからなのですよ。
So that's it. Even Rika-chan was gorging herself on the food, getting saws on the bib she would put on to prevent her shrine maiden outfit from getting dirty.
おじさんも盛り上がってきたよ。よしケイちゃん、私はどれだ？
よっしゃ、ミオはさらにその隣の露店へ行け。ミオンの底力を見せて。
あれ？でもケイチくん、お隣のお店は
Is Shion's? A goldfish scooping stand. A bit out of our element.
いや、部活の部長たるもの、相手が何であれ逃げられないね。やってみるよ。
ミオンさんのお手並み拝見でございますわ。
The onlookers were also watching Mion with hopeful eyes.
いらっしゃい。はいよ、アミットワン。
よし、やるぞ。金魚はみんな生きがいいね。実に美味しそう。この小さいのなんかそのままボリボリと生でいけちゃうよね。
ミオンさんは何を言ってるんでございますの？みーちゃん、食べてたの？去年レナからもらったのも食べちゃったの？
違う。私そんなこと言ってない。
Mion's face went red and she shook it vehemently in denial.
いや、でも今ミオン、お前自分で言ったぞ。実に美味しそうだ。
ええ、確かに言いました。
There she is.
お姉って雑食ですから、口に入れば何でも食べちゃうんです。
美味しいなら今度僕も試してみるのです。ダメだよリカちゃん、お腹壊しちゃうよ。
Wait a second. Hey, what the fuck? Shion, how long have you been here?
はーい、ケイちゃんにお姉にみんなこんばんは。あんたどこから湧いてきたの？シオン。焼きそば屋さんの時からずっとです。お姉たちは騒がしいからすぐに見つけられました。もうあんたは関係ないでしょ。早くどっかへ消えなさいよ。もうお姉もあまり私を邪険にしないでくださいね。ケイちゃん、私が一緒でもいいですよね。
She asked, grabbing my arm and pushing her chest into it. Bounce.
ケイチくん、鼻血出てるよ。
ところてんを押したらニューって出てくるだろ。
What the fuck did you just say, sir?
あれと同じだ。これは抗いようのない現象なんだよ。
へえ、そうなんですか。じゃあ力を入れたらもっと出てくるかな。ぎゅっ。
Shion's, her cleavage is right up against my chest. What is dripping?
シオン、あんたこら何やってんの？
不潔ですわ。見損ないましたよ。面白いのです。僕もやってみるのです。
What? Stop, stop, stop! What is this filth, dude? Shion, Rika-chan and I, our faces now bruised, fell to the ground, limbs sprawled.
よくやったレナ。
みんな不潔なんだよ。レナに殴られたのです。痛いのですよ。リカは自業自得でしたよ。
Now that Shion was here, the energy around us has increased by 120%.
お姉の友達は実に愉快です。退屈しないな。ああ、そう。あんたさえいなくなればもっと愉快なんだけどね。もっと一緒にいたいけど、あんまりケイちゃんを誘惑すると本当にお姉に噛みつかれちゃいそうです。
What's up with these eating shots, though?
だから私、一時退却しますね。また来ます。 じゃあねお姉二度と来るな塩負けしよう
What? After teasing her older sister so much, Shion ran away into the crowd of people and disappeared.
なんだか珍しいミオンさんを見た気がしますわ。しーちゃんが一緒だとみーちゃんなんだかかわいいね。
Rena smiled happily, earning a whack on the head from Mion.
アホなこと言ってんじゃないよ。次行くよ次。
We went about just like that, really noisy and lively to the other stands. We were paying money towards the beginning, but midway through, the guys running the shops thought we were just too funny and we ended up being able to fool around without paying much more. The vigorous sound of a big taiko drum echoed through the air.
リカ、そろそろ時間みたいでございましたよ。あ、いよいよなんだね。
Right, it's just about time for Rika-chan to appear in the offertory dance.
ちょっとドキドキしてるのです。
Doki doki.
信じなって。リカちゃんが流してきた汗は絶対に無駄になんかならないから。
Mion slapped hard on Rika-chan's back.
そうですわ。リカはきっとやり遂げますわ。頑張るのですよ。その息だよ。
I balled my hand into a fist and raised it into the air.
応援してるぞリカちゃん。ファイトオンだぜ。
Rika-chan gave the best smile I had ever seen and then pivoted on her heel and then ran off.
じゃあ私たちも行こうよ。
そうだな。応援してやろうぜ。
ダメですのよ。演舞中は静かにしていないといけませんでございますわよ。
I got it, jeez. I rubbed a hand through her hair. She was worried about her good friend up to the end.
なら急いで行かないといい場所がなくなっちゃうよ。行こう。
Mion ran off and everyone else followed a moment later. A large amount of people had already clustered into the tight space to watch the edifying dance.
こりゃすごい人出だな。
I turned around to look at everyone else, but nobody was there. Where the fuck did everybody go? Bingo? They probably got lost among all these people. Finally, I spotted the back of Mion's head on the other side of the crowd. Or was it Shion? It definitely doesn't look like I can get over there. Well, we got separated. No biggie. We can just meet up back when Rika-chan's dance is over, right? I gave up on finding the others and wandered around, trying to look for a place where I would be able to see better. It didn't take long for me to realize that I would have to settle for watching between the heads of people in front of me though. Thump. Once again, an even louder taiko drum resounded. This one was to announce the beginning of the dance. I couldn't see very well, but it seemed like Rika-chan had come to the stage with the elders, who were in priestly garb. I heard low exhalations of admiration and the seniors rubbing their prayer beads in gratitude. Everyone's heads were in the way and I couldn't see. It was really frustrating. We should have cut playtime short and come here to get the good spots earlier. After Rika-chan intoned the prayer, she took the festival hoe and walked to the pile of quilts stacked on the altar. That's right. The point of the ceremony was to purify bedding and to hold a memorial service, wasn't it? Then, the solemn offertory dance began. She had practiced using a mochi-pounding mallet. The awkwardly shaped festival hoe Rika-chan held seemed really heavy. Back and forth, up and down, it was doubtlessly difficult to even lift in the air, but she sweated and waved, raised and dropped it again and again. She couldn't just deal with it and do it grudgingly. As the shrine maiden, she needed to retain the dignity and solemnity present at this festival. There must be a ton of pressure on Rika-chan's shoulders right now. Damn, why am I cheering her on from a place I can barely see her? Relax, this is not about you. Relax, you got the easy job. Just watch. Just listen. I'm her friend, so I should be right up in the best spot rooting for her.
ケイちゃん、こっちこっち。
Someone tugged lightly on the back of my shirt collar. It was Shion. She beckoned me outside the crowded ring of people. She had a mischievous grin on her face, and I took it as her saying she'd know a good place nobody else knew of.
シオンなんだなんだ
黙ってついてきてくださいね。
After she told me so, she ran in a big detour around the throng. Man, it's great to have someone who knows the lay of the land here at times like this. Impressed though I was, I nearly lost sight of her right away. No more getting separated from me. I ran after her so I wouldn't be left behind. As I wondered in anticipation what kind of secret spot Shion had in mind, we left the crowd of people and went around the back of the shrine grounds.
おいおいどこ行くんだよこれじゃあどんどん離れちゃってるぞ
黙ってついてくればわかりますから。
Shion gave me a wink that reminded me of Mion as she said that. No sign of people, and not much moonlight. It was quite dark. We had gotten pretty far away from the crowd of people on the shrine grounds. How are we supposed to see Rika-chan's dance from here?
そっかどこか高いところがあるんだな屋根の上とかそういうところから見下ろそうって言うんだろ
はい？なんで屋根に登んなくちゃいけないんです？
だってそうじゃなかったらどうやってリカちゃんの演舞を見るんだよ
リカちゃまの演舞なんか見たかったんですか？
That's definitely Mion.
ケイちゃん、ひょっとしてストライクゾーンものすごく低くありません？
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
なんだか話が微妙に噛み合わないぞお前は俺をリカちゃんの演舞がよく見える場所に案内してくれるんじゃないのか
はい？誰もそんな約束してませんよ。
Eh? True. What's going on? Why me? Relax, Jadakiss. Why do I always misunderstand Shion? So you assuming a whole lot of shit? Is it my fault? Yes. Am I just reading the wrong things into it? Yes.
じゃあお前は俺をなんでこんなところに呼び出したんだよ
With an expression that indicated she wasn't fooling around, Shion pressed her index finger to my lips and said slowly and quietly, "This place is a dark, dead, empty spot. You can't see it from the festival grounds, and now a male and female of the same age are all alone together. Could this be? Shion, she's not planning something crazy again, is she?"
あれを見てください。
Shion whispered, pointing into the dark underbrush. And there we saw two figures, one male and one female. Is it Tomitake-kun?
なんだありゃまさか
密会の縄現場に決まってるじゃないですか。ほらほら、よく見てください。
That's some fucking action
誰
going
だかわ
on
かり
here.
ます？
I peered intently into the dark at Shion's suggestion. Oh, it's Tomitake-san and Takano-san. The two of them were clearly breathing quietly and glancing around to make sure nobody knew they were there. As they crouched before the entrance to a wooden storehouse-like building, they're gonna break the padlock!
まさかシオンこれを見せたくて俺を呼んだのか
ケイちゃん、リカちゃまの演舞は毎年見られるけど、こういうのは二度とお目にかかれませんよ。
Are you saying that Kei-chan is gonna die a virgin? What's going on here? I had thought the Sonozaki sisters each had their own personalities, but at times like this, they seemed all too familiar.
俺は帰るぞ二度とこんなのに呼ぶなよな
今動いたらバレちゃいますって。
At our noisy argument, Takano-san suddenly turned around.
あらあら、どなたかしら？
We held our breaths and tried to wait it out, but it seemed like Takano-san was now acutely aware of our presence. Shion and I exchanged glances, then gave up and climbed out from behind the bush.
どうもこんばんは。お月様の綺麗ないい夜ですね。
あらあら、しおんちゃんに前原くんじゃな。こんばんは。月の綺麗な夜ね。
おやおや、圭一君も隅に置けないね。こんなところで二人っきりかい？だとしたら僕たちとんでもないお邪魔をしちゃったかな。
You are the ones who are meeting up secretly. Tomitake-san and Takano-san laughed at themselves, and it got on my nerves for some reason.
ってことは富武さんたちは密会してたってわけじゃないみたいですね。
それはもちろん違うよ。そういうロマンスも嫌いじゃないけどね。
残念だけど、あなたたちが覗き見したくなるような面白い場面じゃないのよ。期待に添えなくて申し訳ないわね。
そうじゃなかったら何してるんですか？富武さん、今扉の南京錠をいじってませんでした？
Huh? After she said that, I looked at the two of them again, and I definitely saw it. They were hunched in front of a warehouse door, fiddling with a pretty heavy-looking padlock.
バレちゃしょうがないな。
You sneaky bitches.
僕たちが倉庫破りをしてたなんて内緒だよ。
内緒って、それ、泥棒ってことですか？
I demanded unthinkingly, just because of how absently Tomitake-san was grinning.
いやあね、泥棒ってのは物を盗む人たちのことでしょ。
Let me guess, you're just taking stuff back that already belonged to you, right?
別に私たちは物を持ち出そうとしているわけじゃないのよ。
へえ。じゃあ何のために鍵開けなんかしてるんですか？ここ開かず古出家とほんの一握りの人間しか入ることが許されないっていう。
Forbidden storehouse. I took a few steps back at that and looked in the entire warehouse. It certainly looked like one, built removed from any signs of people, almost as if in secret. It was filthy, revealing how little it was ever opened. And it was built to be durable, giving it a strange, overpowering impression. Now that I looked at it more closely, it was certainly different than normal warehouses.
ここはね、細具殿といってね、細具をしまっている倉庫なの。いえ、細具を祀っている神殿と言ってもいいかもしれないわね。リカちゃんが奉納演舞で使っている祭事用の桑も今日までこの中にしまわれていたものよ。もちろん古出家の人間以外は不浄を持ち込むから立ち入り禁止の不可侵領域。
And you were trying to achieve just that, why?
聖域なの。
Shouldn't we absolutely not be coming into a place like this then? However, Takano was wearing a childlike expression, an innocent smile at best, a terribly cruel grin at worst.
私、Hinamizawaの昔語りや伝承を趣味で研究してるって言ったわよね。私の知的興味のさまざまな答えがこの中に詰まってるの。この中に入れるチャンスを今日までずっと待ってたんだから。
A chance? Everybody's eyes were fixed on the dance at the shrine grounds today. This was the ultimate blind spot.
へえ。富武さんに鍵開けの技術があるなんて知りませんでした。
あ、よしてくれよ。僕だっていやいややってるんだよ。
付き合わせてしまってごめんなさいね。
You guys are wasting time in that case.
でも二郎さんのおかげよ。感謝してるわ。
やれやれ。でも高野さん、こういうのはこれっきりにしてくれよ。こういうところに黙って入り込むのはやっぱり気が引けるよ。
やっぱり二郎さんはいい人ね。
Clink. Tomitake-san undid the padlock and placed it to the side.
開いたよ。
ありがとう。いよいよね。
Takano-san gulped. With an unusually excited air about her, she gave the heavy door a shove. The sharp smell of mold and dust just flowed out from the gap in the doors. I had claimed curses didn't exist, but in this situation, I could believe in them. If we ever went into such a holy place with our shoes on, it feels like we could be punished somehow.
どう？あなたたちも共犯なんだし、せっかくだから一緒に見学しない？Hinamizawaの皮脂を埋める貴重な文化遺産の見物会よ。今日だけの限定会館。
別に俺たち共犯ってわけじゃ。
面白いと思いません？ねえ、覗いてみましょうよ。
So you knew about this from the get-go. Shion said, predictably linking her arm with mine.
でもこれは絶対いけないことだよ。
Why did she specifically choose me?
神聖な倉庫なんだろ？西宮殿って言ったっけ？ますます勝手に入っちゃまずいよ。
私は一応園崎の人間ですから、この中にあるものはおおよそ想像がついてます。
Ominous?
でもそれはケイちゃんにも見てもらいたいものです。
俺に見てもらいたいもの？
I thought it was just a ploy, but Shion's eyes looked entirely serious. Of course, she was the sort who could lie with a straight face. Of course, I was an average boy too. My curiosity was at least twice that of a normal person. Sleeping, forbidden treasures, never to leave this warehouse. Never to leave this warehouse? What? Chances like this don't come around too often. If I had to choose then, I wanna see. Until the locked door is open though, I don't know about this.
面白くないって思ったら、ケイちゃんはすぐに出ればいいです。きっと興味を惹かれると思いますけどね。
Tomitake-san spoke after listening to our discussion, himself having sat down on the stairs to take a short rest.
僕がここで見張っててあげるから。
Did picking that lock tire you out, bitch?
一緒に見てきてごらん。僕はあまり趣味じゃないけど、
Uh-huh.
ケイイチ君みたいな若い男の子には結構面白いかもしれないよ。
The actual fuck is that supposed to mean? He said, laughing mischievously. There was no ill will in his laughter.
富武さんはこの中に何があるのか知ってるんですか？
まあね。
Have you been in there already?
高野さんにたっぷり聞かされてるからね。
How does she know? Has she been in there?
相方の特殊な趣味に付き合わされる殿方も大変ですね。
Tomitake-san didn't answer that, only responding with a pained smile. Takano-san had this scary kind of air about her, like she would drop absolutely everything else for something she had an interest in and go straight for it, but Tomitake-san, on the other hand, seemed like the gold standard of what a normal person should be. The fuck is normal? Having him tell me so frankly to go check it out suddenly made the guilt feel lighter.
じゃあちょっとだけな。面白くなかったらすぐ出るぞ。
You got it. Shion gave me another Mion-like wink.
決まったみたいね。じゃあ行きましょうか。二郎さん、留守番をお願いね。
Tomitake-san waved his hand to see us off. The inside was pitch black, but Takano-san turned on the battery-powered lantern she had brought, revealing a pretty cramped front room.
真っ暗だね。みんな転ばないように気をつけるんだよ。
ご心配ありがとう。じゃあ門番をよろしくね。ここ閉めるわよ。
Takano-san smiled spitefully, as if leaving Tomitake-san out of something fun, and began to close the door.
やれやれ。じゃあみんなゆっくり楽しんでおいで。
What the fuck do you mean, have fun? There was a low, heavy, and loud noise. Was it low, heavy, or loud, bitch? And we were completely cut off from the outside world, and covered in silent darkness. Takano-san's lantern was the only light we had.
大丈夫よ。予備電池も入ってるアウトドア仕様なんだから、冷えたりなんかしないわよ。
Why did you close the door? Looks like Takano noticed my uneasy expression. I couldn't help but blush a little and avert my gaze. Deeper inside, there was a heavy and old but sturdy door with solemn decorations on it. It was the last door sealing away what was within.
ただの倉庫なのに前室があるなんて変わってるでしょ。一度に1枚ずつ扉を出入りさせることによって西宮殿の中が外に見えないようにする工夫だと考えられるわね。
Akana-san explained this, awfully impressed by the construction. But still, it's really fucking dark in here. Huh? Why'd you say ha? Every time you say ha, it's like, oh, my egg is about to hatch. The fuck? That over there, it's an egg? I spotted a circuit breaker hanging from a clump of wiring, clumsily attached to the wall.
あ、これ明かりのブレーカーか何かじゃないですか？
I flipped the biggest motherfucking switch I can find, and with a click, the pitch black room was illuminated by an old bare light bulb. Everyone scrunched up their faces at sudden strobe-like brightness. Anybody watching this 3 a.m.? My bad. Fuck!
ダメです。
I'm sorry, it wasn't me. Shaggy. But before she even finished, Shion slapped my hand and flipped the switch back. There was another loud click, and the room returned to the darkness, with only the lantern for illumination.
いてててて。
ダメです、ケイちゃん。私たち、ここに忍び込んでるんですよ。明かりなんかつけたら、バレちゃうかもしれないじゃないですか。
I'm scolded by Shion fairly harshly. It looked like she was worried about whether someone had seen them from the momentary light.
大丈夫よ。本当に一瞬だし。
Takano-san remained a relaxed adult. It seemed like she was confident she could talk her way out of it if someone did see us.
さあ、入りましょう。よいしょっと。
The even heavier door opened, and this time, it wasn't just the dust that came out of the air, there was also a nasty smell. One smell was like opening a dust-filled cupboard in the back of a kitchen that hadn't been opened in years. And the other smell, the nasty one, was hard to explain, but it was like the raw odor of a fish market. From how the sound echoed, this room felt far larger than the first. Takano-san held up her lantern and revealed the contents of the expansive room. At the back wall of the storehouse, right in front of us, was a Buddha-like holy object standing there, looking down at us. I was taken aback by its unseen force, lit up by the slender beam of the lantern.
あれがHinamizawaの守り神、お社様よ。
Is that like an Iron Maiden and shit?
社にあるのより、ずっと立派ですね。
Oyashiro-sama. So this is the spirit protecting Hinamizawa, the one guarding the holy land of Hinamizawa from the impurities of the outside world, and the one delivering punishment after punishment upon those who attempted to sully the land with the dam construction.
想像してたより、たくさんの細具が収められているようね。でも残念。どれもあまり手入れがされていないわ。状態が悪いのが悔やまれるわね。
Even in the dim light, I could see a lot of strange objects lining the walls, ceiling, and shelves. Takano-san, speaking as if in a trance, was infatuated by the various implements filling the dark room. They weren't very festival-like or traditional, but instead, this was more like the workshop of a blacksmith or a carpenter. There were a lot of large wooden and metal tools packed in here. Putting it bluntly, it was all pretty boring stuff. Bluntly, like most of the objects in here. I had imagined there would be more artistic things in here from the Heian period, but these are a far cry from being cultural artifacts. My expression betrayed my dashed hopes, and they caught on right away.
あら、面白くないかしら？
俺は文系でも美術系でもないんで、あんまりこういうのを見てもよく価値がわからないです。
圭一君はよくわかってないみたいね。無理もないけれど。
Takano-san reached into a paper bag that she had been holding the whole time, took out a worn scrapbook and began to flip through it.
じゃあ、 圭一くんのために昔話でも聞かせてあげようかしら。この地方では一般的な昔話よ。図書館に行けば教育委員会推薦の本にも載ってるくらいにね。
Telling stories in such a dark and creepy place? She must have a horror story in mind. Shion's face belied nothing but calm. If she had the same personality as Mion, she would have found the vault with me being scared. I'll endure it for now and pretend to be calm.
いい？じゃあ、読むわよ。
After confirming that I was going to be quiet and listen, she began to speak softly like a kindergarten teacher reading a picture book. Does this make sense, however? Could she not hold off on the story until we are done exploring this place and outside? Why do it here? Why do it now?
昔々、ある山奥の村にね、その沼はね、底なしの深い深い沼でね、地の底の鬼の国につながっていたんですって。
The rumors said it was deeper than the ocean and that anyone it swallowed would sink into the underworld, a bottomless swamp. Its name was Onigafuchi. Wait, I thought back to the story I heard yesterday about sacrifices sinking in the bottomless swamp. Could that be the swamp she's talking about?
ってことは、その村はHinamizawaですね。
察しがいいわね。そうよ。当時は鬼ヶ淵村って呼ばれてたけどね。
The village of ogres, right?
鬼ヶ淵村。物騒な響きのある名前だな。
イメージもあったんでしょうね。明治の頃に今の名前に改称されたって聞きました。
The name of the swamp connected to hell was called Onigafuchi, which meant the demon's abyss. And the true name of this village, Hinamizawa, was Onigafuchi village.
村人たちは鬼の国、つまりは地獄のことね。鬼の国とつながるという沼を崇めながら過ごしてきたの。でもね、ある日のこと。
Demons began to appear one after the other from deep in the swamp. Interesting. The villagers feared that hell was overflowing. The demons mercilessly attacked the villagers. They could only watch in fear. They could do no more than hide themselves and tremble.
で、誰かが鬼を退治するわけですか？
残念だけど、このお話には桃太郎みたいな正義の味方は登場しないわ。
じゃあ、村を挙げて戦うわけですか？
まさか、村人たちに鬼と互角に戦える力などあるわけもない。
じゃあ、村を捨てて逃げるしかないですよね。
それも無理ね。村人たちにとっても、村は大切な郷里だった。どんな恐ろしい鬼が攻めてきたからといって簡単に逃げ出せるはずもなかったのよ。
じゃあどうするんですか？滅びるしかないじゃないですか。
Unable to fight and unable to run, all they could do was wait for the village to be destroyed. Then, when everyone had lost hope, their god, Oyashiro-sama, descended onto them.
なるほど。つまり天からやってきたお社様が鬼たちをやっつけるわけですか。
ケイちゃんは男の子ですね。すぐに腕力で解決する方に走るんですから。
Shion sighed, a little annoyed. Embarrassed, I held my tongue.
お社様はね、やっつけるとかそういう暴力的な神様じゃなかったの。もっと優しい慈愛のある神様だったの。
The strength of Oyashiro-sama descended from the heavens couldn't be compared to that of the demons. They didn't even fight. They simply prostrated themselves before his radiant authority. Oyashiro-sama urged them to go back to hell from whence they came, but the demons wept and challenged him, saying they could never return.
鬼たちの世界にも厳しい戒律があってね。彼らは地獄を追放された鬼たちだったんですって。
Demons, who didn't have a place to go, neither in hell nor in the human world. Of course, they were at fault for attacking the village. They deeply reflected on it and were sorry.
村人たちも話を聞くうちに少しずつ気の毒になっていったわ。それでね、村のみんなで話し合った結果、
退治するとか追っ払うっていう昔話は多いけど、共存ってのは確かに珍しいですね。
ですよね。鬼ってのは元来諸悪の象徴のはず。それとの共存を決めたというお話なんだから、本当に変わってます。
When the demons first heard the village's invitation, they doubted their ears, but soon burst into tears of joy. The villagers had given them a place to live. It was said that in payment for this good deed, the demons shared their many kinds of power and secrets with the villagers.
お社様はその微笑ましい交流をとても喜んでね、鬼たちが村人と分け隔てなく暮らせるよう人間の姿を与えたんですって。そして自らも地上にとどまり、末永く両者の交流を見守ることにしたんだそうよ。
A land in which man, demon, and god lived together. I had thought the word demon was a noun meaning evil, evil that needs to be exterminated. A god may have mediated for them, but you don't often hear happy endings like that where both sides live in harmony. I see. I guess it is kind of interesting.
普通のおとぎ話ならここで終わりなんだけどね。このお話は江戸時代にだいぶ加筆されたみたいで、まだまだ続く随分と長い話になってるわ。
鬼の存在は結局村に溶け込んで消えてしまったということですか。
Or the other way around, the humans ended up disappearing.
いいえ、消えたりなんかしないです。半分はしっかりと残ってたそうですよ。
The knowledge the villagers had received from the demons basically made them into something inhuman, what people call transcendent. They were well aware the power they had was heresy, and as those below worshipped them, they lived out their lives in secrecy.
このお話がね、その後に派生するたくさんの昔話、フィクションだから、このお話がある意味基礎中の基礎、ベーシックね。
原点ってどういう意味ですか？
村人たちは鬼の血を引いているという部分ですね。つまりこの辺りに伝わるさまざまな伝承や昔話は、全部その村の人たちは鬼の血を引いているというのが前提になっているんです。
There was a hint of amusement in Shion's face as she said that. It was like she wanted to say that she too had demon blood in her. Is there any proof though? Maybe it's somehow rooted in historical fact beyond just fairy tales.
あら、じゃあ前原くんは沼から鬼が現れて人間と交わったっていうのは、
信じないわけじゃないんですけど。
When she said demon, she meant the ones from hell, but in ancient Japan, the word wasn't necessarily used to denote only that kind, right? The more well-known use involves drifting foreigner theory. As the story goes, Westerners who were shipwrecked in nearby seas had such markedly different customs that they were called demons. Japanese people were relatively similar in appearance to other Asians, but everything about those from the West was different: their physiques, their faces, and their skin color. In Japan, terms like red demon and blue demon evoke images especially of Westerners. Lacking in skin pigments, Westerners would sunburn easily and turn red. Being fair-skinned, I think blood vessels appearing on their skin would look blue too. A handful of accidental aliens would drift into Japan and came under persecution, being called demons. They would flee into the mountains to survive, turn into bandit groups, and attack villages for food and the like.
なんて説はどうでしょう。ちょっと子供じみてますかね。
Takano gave me a weird smile when, having come up with such an impromptu hypothesis, I unconsciously followed it up with self-deprecation. Still, she didn't smile as if to make fun of me.
別におかしくないわよ。実際に漂流偉人説を唱える人もいるもの。でも実際はどうなのかは誰にもわからない。山賊化した偉人の集団だったのか、本当に地の底から来た鬼たちだったのか。
じゃあ高野さんはどっちを信じてるんですか？
真相は別にして、夢のある方を信じたいわね。その方が面白いでしょ。
Her answer made her sound a wee bit like a romanticist. Here I thought she would reject unrealistic stories like that.
さて、
さてと。
いよいよここからよ。面白くなるのは。
Takano-san brought an end to her storytelling and waits for a moment as if to tantalize us.
Huh?
Suddenly, Shion looked around as if something had caught her eye. Her head bobbed to and fro. Okay. From? Like she was making sure nothing had changed.
どうしたシオン？
She's missing an M.
ごめんなさい。気にしないでください。
She's missing an M from Mion! Shion pretended as though nothing had happened. Takano-san also made sure nothing had happened, then cleared her throat and broached the next subject.
村人たちに半分鬼の血が流れてるのは話したわね。
You definitely do.
実はその血なんだけど、鬼は鬼でも人食い鬼の血なんだって言われてるの。
Mion definitely is. Shion isn't though.
人食い鬼ですか？急に物騒な響きになりましたね。
Rika is also Satoko as well.
その血は今でも村人たちには脈々と流れていてね。
Nani?
時折その血が眠りを覚ますと言われているわ。
I thought the fairy tale had a happy ending with the humans and demons living in peace, but it began to suddenly change into a brutal, bloody story.
人食い鬼だから何十年かに一度どうしても人肉が食べたくて仕方がなくなる周期があるんですって。だからって村人同士で共食いするわけにはいかない。だから彼らはその度に人里へ降り鬼隠しをしたと伝えられてるわ。
何ですか？鬼隠しって。
平たく言えば鬼たちによる誘拐行為よ。鬼ヶ淵村の村人たちが人里に押し寄せ、哀れな生贄を無理やり力ずくでさらったんですって。
Takano-san's explanation was plain and simple, but when I imagined what it must have been like, it was terrifying. They lose their human reason. The villagers turn into real demons en masse. They attack the villages they loathe in the dirty world of the masses below. And then they kill and eat their sacrifices.
それじゃあ鬼と何ら変わりないじゃないですか。お社様はどうしたんです？その村にとどまって人々を見守ってるんじゃなかったでしたっけ？
もちろんお社様も了承してたそうよ。だから鬼隠しは無差別ではなく、神様が決めた生贄以外には誰もさらわなかったらしいし、ほとんどの場合は一人か二人だったって記されてるわね。
A village inhabited by those both human and inhuman. It was like the heartwarming episode's colors had inverted, like negative film, revealing the painful and ugly truth.
そうして生贄をさらってきた夜にはね、
Like nights like these.
哀れな犠牲者をおいしくいただくため、綿流しの儀式が開かれたというわ。
Watanagashi. Tonight's festival was Watanagashi. How did it slip my mind? I just couldn't reconcile the fun festival with the horrible tale Takano-san was telling me.
綿流しは確か冬の間に使った布団なんかに感謝するお祭りじゃなかったでしたっけ？
ケイちゃん、
You dumb fuck, Kei-chan.
綿って言いません？臓物のこと。
Shion, who had been silent until now, spoke up.
綿？そういえば言うな。魚の綿っていう。え？
Like a jigsaw puzzle, the fun times I had today and Takano-san's grotesque tale clicked together in my mind.
綿流し。
So, I didn't think saying that could ever feel nauseating.
そう。前原くんの想像している通りよ。今でこそ綿流しは毎年6月に行われるちょっと早い夏祭りに過ぎないけど、哀れな食材をさらってきた夜にだけ開かれた。
嘘だ。
I had no real reason to say that, but I couldn't help it.
前原くんはさっき綿流しは布団を清める儀式だと言ったわね。綿が詰まった布団って何を意味してると思うかしら？
布団は布団だろう。寝具。寝るための道具だよ。他に何の意味があるんだよ。
I was rattling on, desperately attempting to deny the horrible festival that Takano-san was describing. Deep down, however, I find myself understanding all too well what she meant. Futons, stuffed with cotton. If the cotton represented entrails in both pronunciation and meaning, then entrail-filled futons would have to be humans.
ではリカちゃんがやった奉納演舞を思い出してちょうだい。リカちゃんがあそこで何をしていたか。
わからねえよ。第一、リカちゃんの演舞は最後までちゃんと見てないし。
ケイちゃん、エキサイトしすぎです。
Shion grabbed one of my ears, reminding that this wasn't somewhere I should raise my voice. Even so, I still can't suppress this agitation I feel.
リカちゃんが持っていたもううすうすは気づいてると思うけど、あれは田畑を耕す桑ではなくて、人間の腹をこじ開けるための解剖道具なのよ。
I didn't see the dance all the way through, so I don't know what kind of performance Rika-chan was putting on after I had left. That looks fucked up. When I told this to Takano-san, she kindly explained Rika-chan's dance to me. To summarize what she said after what I had seen, Rika-chan would pierce the futons with their hoe, cut them open, and pull out the cotton inside. She would cut the cotton out, one bit at a time, and set it afloat. That's the kind of ritual it
平た
was.
く言えば、魚の綿を取り出して三角コーナーに捨てるのを仰々しく儀式仕立てにしたってことね。それで儀式はおしまい。その後はそれぞれの役割を持った村人たちがおのおのに肉を解体して美味しくいただいたって考えられてるわね。
At Takano-san's strangely happy giggle, I felt, for some reason, violent displeasure. Rika-chan, every day during our lunch break, she would take our rice-pounding mallet into the schoolyard. She would work so hard, sweating bullets to practice for the offertory dance she had done today. All that effort, all that work, Takano-san disgraced it. She had to go. Even though she worked so hard to practice for today,
高野さんももう少し言葉を選んでほしいです。ケイちゃん、ナイーブなんですから、あまりからかわないでください。
Shion must have been fully aware of how that story made me
ご
feel.
めんなさい。男の子だからショッキングな話は結構好きかと思って。
Takano-san spoke without a hint of malice as she smiled gracefully.
この辺まで話を聞けば、ケイちゃんにもこの細具殿の中にどういうものがあるのか理解できるようになってきませんか？ほら。
Shion pointed out one of the walls vaguely illuminated by the lantern's light. There was, mere moments ago, they hadn't held my interest. They were just boring-looking tools lined up on the shelves. All those uninteresting tools that I didn't understand how to use, they all suddenly took a new meaning, and I couldn't help but let out a groan. At first they looked like carpentry tools, like chisels or planes. However, when I thought back, I had seen pictures of these sorts of tools before. Yeah, they came up in Japanese history textbook. Yes, on the page of introducing Kaitai Shinsho or the new text on anatomy.
こういうのはね、医学の本場ドイツの文献の方がリアルに掲載されてるわよ。
These aren't just carpentry tools. These strangely shaped tools, they're for dissection. Everyone knows that in the Edo period, they would dissect the corpses of those who had been put to death in order to gain knowledge about the Western medical techniques. Illustrations of the dissection tools they used at the time came up in textbook supplements. The things hung up on this wall all looked exactly the same as those.
もっと怖い言い方をするなら、調理道具といったところかしらね。
I'm sorry, what? Takano-san holding the lantern, the only light source in the room, led us along the wall. She had the only light, so I had to walk after her whether I liked it or not.
ほら、
Takano-san illuminated a coiled chain which left a bigger impression than the other things we saw. The chain itself was nothing unusual, but further along it were metal fetters that were like hinges, clearly meant for binding people.
ケイちゃん、あれ。
Shion tapped me on the shoulder and pointed to a restraining table that was clearly shaped like a person. If I press P right now... Okay. Fam, whose mans drew this? What the fuck is this? I mean, this is probably the best one out of these three, but fucking hell, man. Fam! Who did this? Fucking raise your hand in the comment section down below, mate. My spine froze. My blood felt like it was turning into sherbet as it crawled up my back. On each of the joints, there were things like chains and iron balls attached. It was like the table was searching for its next sacrifice, ready to spread their arms wide and close them
多
in.
分まな板じゃないかしら。犠牲者を拘束してこの台の上でお料理をしたんだと思うわね。
The words chopping block sent a jolt through my body. When I looked more closely, there were many dark slices carved into it as through from a knife or a saw. They were the most clear-cut signs of usage you could ask for. It proved these tools weren't just for show, they were used for their original purpose. If someone was strapped tightly onto this table, they probably wouldn't be able to move even a muscle. Their guts would be defenseless. You would take one of those eerie cooking knives lined up over there, stab them with it. And then, you would slice open their belly and dissect them?
話には聞いてたけど、すごい。
Does her mouth move? Oh. Fucking filth, mate. Before coming in here, Shion had mentioned that she had a good guess of what was inside, but it seems to have exceeded her imagination. I'm kinda curious.
まだまだあるわよ。
What? She looks aight, kinda cheerful. What the? You... Fam, you only have 2 fingers in this bitch! Get out.
どう？老人形館より面白いでしょ。
Wait, her mouth didn't move, right? Takano-san had this happy expression like she was visiting a toy store for the first time. I don't get it. This Mio Takano person has nerves of steel. Are these bizarre, grotesque objects that fascinating to her? I, for one, was not enjoying myself. I need to see if their lips move with this one. I'll be frank. This was all too weird for me. Let's see. Still, there was something even more horrifying than all this. Yeah, it's probably this. That would be none other than Takano-san herself. Takano-san holding the lantern giving off such a thin beam of light, if she suddenly turned it off, then I would. What would I do when the next moment everything went totally dark? That's why I was scared. Takano-san had the only light, and anyway, I was scared. At some point, Shion had started holding onto my shirt sleeve. It was a little annoying to walk like that, but I didn't shake her off. That minor sensation allowed me to feel the presence of an ally here and now. Oh. Before we even walked halfway through the storehouse, the air I felt on my skin changed completely. These cruel tools lined up, all cramped together in this place. Some were horrible ones made to take away sacrifices' freedom, and some were tools made to efficiently disassemble and prepare the bodies for consumption. Those were just the things I understood. There were plenty of other strange-looking objects that I couldn't even guess the purpose of. Now that I was here, I didn't have the slightest desire to hear the details about what sort of terrifying reasons they were meant to be used for. At the very least, they were all completely different from the sort of clean, simple killing function of a katana. Tools to kill people were, obviously, constructed in such a way that they could kill people. If that was the goal, then the person you used them on would obviously end up dead. The kinds of tools here, however, were different. The tools that were here were for cutting people, for crushing them, for boiling them and cooking them, and for grinding them. They were tools of torture. They weren't made to kill people. People dying was just an incidental result. Actually, they might not even kill them. If the sacrifices could die during such a horrifying ritual process, that would be nice, but they don't even die in the end. They remain in a state of hellish pain. Perhaps they were only being allowed to live. Only now in this moment did I fully realize just how terrifying and fearsome that difference was.
人ってね、
Ah, lips ain't moving. Okay, that bloody Nora, man, who the fuck?
上手にやると結構殺さずに済むものらしいの。
Takano-san, as if reading my mind, displayed a shocking smile.
魔女狩りで有名な家系。火あぶりなんかはすぐに死んじゃうのよ。全身の皮膚が広範囲にわたって重度の火傷を負うと、組織の分解産物で中毒症状を引き起こし、まあ確かにそれに至るまでがギロチンなんかに比べればはるかに長いところに残虐性があるんだけど。
She described such horrors in a strangely medical way. Shion immediately answered the question I had.
高野さん、看護師さんですから。
I knew that already. There's a saying that nothing can scare a doctor. I guess it's true.
ところがね、ローマの時代の処刑方法にね、網焼きというものがあったの。バーベキューと同じにね、金網で挟みつけて炭火でじっくりと焼いたんですって。
I think the memories of when I went to day camp with my family would come rushing back now of all time so vividly.
これだとね、どういうわけかなかなか死なないらしいのよ。ものの本によると、一昼夜かけて片側が炭化するくらいこんがり焼いてもまだ意識があって流暢に話をしたなんて記述も出てくるから。
It's said that in ancient Rome, famous for their executions, thought of plenty of ways to execute someone while having the victim stay alive as long as possible.
その中にね、お腹を開いて腸をウインナーみたいに引っ張り出してウィンチで引っ張り上げて晒し物にする刑があったんです。
What the fuck is this entire segment, dude? Shion was behind me, clinging to me. Not just because she was scared, she was protecting her stomach.
臓物を引っ張り出すなんて聞いただけでもすぐに死んじゃいそうでしょ。でもね、丁寧に優しくやるとね、意識がはっきりとした状態のまま腹渡を引きずり出すことって可能らしいのよ。
I felt a sick feeling in my stomach. It was like my organs were coiling up just from Takano-san's stare.
ウィンチで引っ張り出すっていうのはなんだか大行な方法だけど、もっと野蛮に裂いた腹から臓物をちぎっては投げちぎっては投げという。でも処刑者には意識があるの。それは痛い以上に恐ろしい体験なんでしょうね。
She spoke with pleasure as if she had come here on a sightseeing trip. I heard Shion gulping multiple times near my ears.
Hinamizawa の、いえ、鬼ヶ淵村の渡流しもそんな感じだったのかしらね。ほら、耳を澄ませば聞こえてくるような気がしない？
I wanted nothing more than to not hear anything at all. So why? Why only at times like these do I begin to hear things I shouldn't be able to? Takano-san, having realized she had scared Shion and I enough at this point, smiled soothingly. Then, she turned on her heel, raised the lantern, and began to walk again. If Takano-san left us here, we would get even further away from the light. Shion and I, no matter how scared we were forced to follow Takano-san along on her field trip through the ritual storehouse.
これで軽く一周できたかしら？ね？面白いところでしょ？
She says, raising the lantern high in the center of the storehouse. The dim lighting didn't change, but for some reason, it felt like I was able to see all of those horrible things at once. It felt like I was able to see all of those horrible tools at once.
ケイちゃん、上。
Shion stammered while grabbing the nape of my neck. Don't grab the nape of my neck. I couldn't tell because it was so dark, but there were a lot more tools hanging from the ceiling wall. They all looked like they were made of iron bars, but then I figured it out. Cages. For cages, they were very small. Cramped cages just for one, like a casket. If you got locked up in there, no, you wouldn't get locked up inside it. It was another tool meant for restraining people, where the iron bars would squeeze you tightly. All the so many big and large things of all shapes were hanging down. Takano-san's mention of execution by grilling crosses my mind. We weren't just surrounded on all sides by these terrifying instruments. Things crowding the ceiling were even hanging over our heads.
ヨーロッパの拷問道具にこういった鳥かごがたくさん登場するわね。日本にもあったなんて驚きだわ。
ケイちゃん、あれ中に入ってない？人？ミイラ？
え？どれ？
Shion desperately pointed to one of the many human-sized bird cages hanging from the ceiling, but I couldn't tell which one she meant. This is a trap, don't do it. Being that dark, there wasn't any way you could tell if something was in there in the first place.
私には何も見えないけど、見間違いじゃないの？
Shion didn't seem convinced, but without a means to confirm for ourselves, we couldn't do much but wonder.
これで前原くんにもなんとなく信じられるようになったんじゃないかしら。Hinamizawaに伝えられる恐ろしい儀式の数々が。
It's got nothing to do with believing in them. Now that I've been shown the real thing like this, there is no possible way to deny it. Even the nations of Europe, with all their beautiful landscapes and legends, were like a maelstrom during the terrible witch hunts in the Dark Ages. It's well known that the era gave birth to countless gruesome forms of torture and execution. Japan was the same way. Didn't it have its own era of hellscape-like torturous feasts because of religious suppression and things of that nature? Hinamizawa itself had such a period. It had that much history behind it. Even in Europe, land of the witch hunts, that was all far in the past. No more than a series of historical events. Nothing that abnormal would ever happen. That must apply to Hinamizawa as well.
中世の暗黒時代とかがそうだったように、そういうものなんだと解釈します。本当にHinamizawaでこういう恐ろしいことがあったのだとしても、
That's where you're wrong, dog.
今暮らしているHinamizawaの人々とは何の関係もないことです。
前原くんは本当にHinamizawaが好きなのね。
It didn't sound like she was making fun of me. Takano-san gave me a light smile.
でも 高野さんはその風習が実は現代にも残っているんじゃないかと思ってそうでしたよね。
Shion suggested something that made my heart leap into my throat. Are you telling me that all these horrible things are still going on even today?
これ本当に内緒なんだからね。シオンちゃんは理解のある人だから話したけど、他の村人には聞かれたくないの。下手をしたら罰当たり者ってことで袋叩きにされかねないんだから。
Shion flashed a devilish smile, as if reveling in the immorality of it.
前原くんも内緒にしてね。
No.
知られたら私、お社様のたたりに会うか、生贄にされ。たたりなら、今年はどんな死に方をさせられちゃうのかしら。生贄なら、鬼ヶ淵の沼に生きたまま沈められちゃうのかしら。そういえば今夜よね。お社様のたたりがある夜は。
Takano-san said, bringing her face right up close to ours, as if to say that if she had the choice, she would rather suffer the curse. That was what she seemed to be implying here. Takano-san took a fairly worn notebook out of her paper bag and began to flip through its pages. There were all sorts of references and newspaper clippings attached to them, and it had all manner of things written inside. The letters were very small and bunched together, so I couldn't tell at a glance what it was about.
本当は国会図書館で当時の新聞を探したいんだけどね。ほら、ここ。
A photocopy of a page from some book was slid into the notebook, and it too was written in small tight lettering. Like the other pages, I couldn't tell what it was about just by glancing at
こ
it.
れは実際にあったお話よ。明治の終わり頃にね、鬼ヶ淵村で身元不明の惨殺死体が発見されたんですって。
An old newspaper clipping attached to the page spoke of something that was no mere rumor or fairy tale.
当時の警察の資料がほとんど残ってないそうだから、口伝と記憶によるものだけなんだけどね。ほら、これ不鮮明だけど、明治の頃の新聞の切り抜きみたい。
Never before has there been a corpse treated with such cruelty and inhumanity. Could it be the work of a demon? Being a copy of a copy, it was very hard to make out, but it was more than enough to make me feel strangely tense. Near the end of the Meiji era, in old Onigafuchi village, a mangled corpse was discovered. The identity of the corpse was unknown. It wasn't even a state where it could be identified in the first place. It was missing a head, and each limb was separated from the body. Skin had been peeled off the entire body, and there were markings that implied terrible torture in every place imaginable. Not only that, but the belly had been cut open by a sharp knife, with the entrails completely dragged out. The police immediately began an investigation, but since they couldn't even determine the identity of the victim, much less the criminal, finding answers was extremely difficult.
どういう状況かわかるかしら？
I couldn't imagine such a strange sight even if I tried. This was the first time I was ever thankful for my lack of imagination.
被害者は生きながらにして全身の皮を剥がれ、そして死後にもさらに遺体を分解解剖と残虐の限りを尽くしたのではないかって筆者は見て、私はどの工程も生きているうちにやったんじゃないかって思ってるんだけどね。前原くんはどう思うかしら？
She spoke in a way intended to make me imagine even more vicious things. As my brain was already far over capacity, mine too fam, it's been a very long episode. However, there was no way I could imagine anything more brutal. Then, when I broke my gaze from Takano-san, those strangely shaped weird tools were all around us. I wonder if you could faithfully reproduce the mutilated corpse discovered at the end of the Meiji era with the tools found in this place. I want to deny it. I don't want to admit that something so terrible could have happened at all. Even so, They were so strange, so terrifying. These tools, and as if they had seen through my attempt to escape from them, they did nothing but ridicule me silently.
その薄気味悪い事件が何だって言うんですか？
筆者はね、鬼ヶ淵村の恐ろしい習慣は明治以降の近代。ひょっとすると昭和初期くらいまでは残ってたんじゃないかって結んでるわ。
This corpse, at a glance, appeared to have been brutally killed after a period of torture. In actuality, however, it was the pitiful sacrificial remains of the man-eater's terrifying feast. The corpse was just leftovers. It was so fantastic, so strange, that it didn't feel real. Was this an extension of the legends too? It happened in the Meiji era though, which is just too recent to be called a legend. Also, there is a newspaper clipping right here suggesting it.
でも本当にあったとしたって昔のことですよね。明治なんて言ったらそれこそ100年くらい前の。
たったよ。たった100年前のことよ。それにね、昭和に入ってからだってあるんだから。終戦直後に騒ぎになった缶詰疑惑。あ、ごめんなさい。
And the flesh incident?
この話はタブーだったわよね。
Takano-san immediately stopped talking as if worried about Shion. Shion briefly looked somewhat angry, but that expression soon disappeared.
今高野さんなんて言いました？缶詰疑惑って。
Just then, there was a huge creaking sound. Noise, creaking noise. Everybody whipped around to look. It was Tomitake-san who had opened the door slightly.
驚かせちゃったかな？
あら、二郎さんも見たくて我慢できなくなったかしら？
Oh my goodness gracious me.
僕は遠慮させてもらうよ。生来ね、こういうのは苦手なんだ。
Takano-san held her stomach and had to muffle her laughter, as if she wanted to make a comment about his masculinity. It was fucking ripped in the second version though. Camera looks more... Oh my god. Look, the fucking camera was it yellow?
演舞とセレモニーが終わって、みんな沢の方に降りていったよ。あと何分もしないうちにお祭りは終わっちゃう。
あら、いけない。前原くんがあまりにも聞き上手だから、またお話三昧になっちゃったわ。
I would really rather you not mention me in a place like this.
二郎さんは表で待っててくれるかしら？私はちょっと写真を撮るわね。本当はいくつか道具を持って帰りたいんだけど、それはさすがに無理そうだからね。
What? Takano-san took her camera out of her paper bag. Paper bag? And began to snap photographs. She looked like she was having fun, like she was on a scavenger hunt.
ん？ケイチ君も出るかい？
もう十分に見ましたので。シオン、もういいだろ。出ようぜ。綺麗な空気が吸いたいよ。
同感です。出ましょう。
I did feel a bit of hesitation at leaving Takano-san all by herself in this darkness, but she had a fucking lantern, fuck it. When I thought about it though, I realized that whatever kinds of evil spirits and ghosts lurked in the darkness, none of them could hold a candle to how scary she was. Even if a phantasm were to appear, she would be overjoyed and flash her camera at it. It seemed like Shion shared my somewhat rude mental images. We exchanged glances and smiled painfully. We left Takano-san there, bathed in her strobe of camera flashes, and decided to go leave the ritual storehouse. Everyone at the festival seemed to have gone to the stream, so their voices were very distant. The voices of the bugs, on the other hand, were clear, lending an empty feeling of isolation to the place.
どうだい？面白かったかい？
Tomitake-san gave us a somewhat mischievous grin. He should have been able to tell by looking at how pale our faces were.
富武さんと一緒に留守番をしてればよかったです。
Tomitake-san laughed so delightfully that it wiped away our dark feelings.
しおんちゃんはどうだったかな？怖かったかい？
一応心の準備があった分怖くはなかったですけど、でもやっぱり実物は迫力あります。
Shion spoke like she wasn't scared at all. She really had been quite afraid, but seeing as how I was in a way worse state than her, I didn't have much room to talk. As Tomitake-san grinned candidly, my mind, exhausted and locked up by nervousness, began to calm itself.
高野さんはおとなしく見物してたかな？ほら、彼女子供っぽいところがあるだろう？
She seemed like a demon sometimes, did?
宝の山を前にさぞや興奮してたんじゃないかと思ってね。
Both Shion and I laughed and left that as our answer.
見るだけならいいんだけどね。こっそりと何かを持ち出したり、いじくりすぎて細具を壊したりしないかが心配なんだよ。
Right, that is quite possible. She is also alone in there, just so you know. She might pilfer something small and easily concealed, hiding it in her pocket.
やりかねないです。
Shion said what I was thinking.
本当に何も壊したりしなかったかな？
I'm not her babysitter, dude.
なんだかドタンバタンと飛び跳ねるような音がよく聞こえたからね。僕は不安で。
ごめんなさい。フィルムがなくなっちゃったわ。二郎さん、フィルムが余ってたら分けてくれないかしら。
Takano-san suddenly appeared while we were talking about her, taking everyone by surprise. Tomitake-san smoothly grinned and responded as if nothing happened. He's pretty mature.
もう予備のフィルムは切れちゃったよ。
How convenient is that?
申し訳ないね。
もういついかなる時でもフィルムを残しておかないと決定的スクープ写真なんか撮れないわよ。仕方ないわね。
Tomitake-san scratched his desk apologetically. Without film, we're done here. Takano-san seemed to have given up because of that too. We checked carefully to make sure we hadn't left anything inside, and then closed the door and turned to the heavy padlock we left beside it.
高野さん、何も持ち出してないだろうね。
失礼ね。そこまで子供じゃないつもりよ。
Kerr-clack! Tomitake-san set the padlock back the way it was before. From a cursory glance, it didn't look like thieves had snuck in at all.
よし、僕たちも沢に行こう。綿を流すところくらいやらないとお祭りに来た意味がないよ。
Tomitake-san spoke brightly, urging us all on. Setting cotton afloat down the stream, I shake my head a few times, driving away my dismal thoughts as to the double meaning. Takano-san, looking a little let down, kept turning back to glance at the ritual storehouse.
もうこれっきりにしてくれよ。十分に知的好奇心は満たせただろう。
まさか。むしろ新しい興味を惹かれるような発見ばかりよ。今日のでこれまでの仮説が一気に現実になったわ。これで今後の調べ方がだいぶ変わってくるんだから。
Oh, she is truly indomitable. Her curiosity really is something else. Still interested in all this through and through. We descended the stone stairs and all people crowding the stream came into view. Near the bottom of the stairs we could clearly see people receiving cotton that had been cut out for them, then wishing upon the cotton and setting it afloat down the stream. The festival was already over.
まずったな。綿流しの一番いいところを撮影し損ねたよ。
あら、まだ遅くないわよ。私が行って流すんだから。私を撮ってはくださらないのかしら？
Takano-san, with an impish expression, brought her head to Tomitake-san's shoulder. Despite his age, he looked embarrassed. I felt an honest respect for Tomitake-san, man to man, for dating such a handful of a woman.
じゃあね。
Deuces.
前原くん。
Might be the last time we meet.
しおんちゃんも。
僕たちは今からでも沢に行ってみるよ。
Obviously.
君たちも一緒に来るかい？
まさか。お二人の邪魔なんてできません。どうぞごゆっくり。
Shion waved her hand to him with an expression just as impish as Takano-san's. Tomitaka-san, on his part, seemed to want us to come, but whatever. Shion gave a big stretch and sat down on the stone steps.
疲れちゃいました。
同感だな。俺も疲れた。
ケイちゃんは綿流し初めてなんですよね。私なんか気にしないで行ってきてください。私は疲れちゃったんで、人混みはちょっとパスしておきます。
Yeah, if we were to go now, we would barely slip into the end of the cotton drifting ceremony.
お姉たちがケイちゃんのことを探してるかもしれませんから、行ってきてください。
あ、そうだ。ミオンたちと別れたままそれっきりだったな。探してると悪い。
Then, Shion suddenly got a playful look on her face, and then put her index finger to her lips as if telling me to keep this a secret.
お姉ってすっごく嫉妬深いんです。私がケイちゃんを独占してたことがバレると、いろいろうるさいんで、今夜のことは秘密にしておいてくださいね。
No promises. Keep tonight a secret. Don't say things that are so embarrassing.
そういう意味だけじゃないですよ。今夜、私たちがしたことを思えば、秘密にするのは当然です。今夜起こるかもしれないお社様のたたり。私たち4人が最有力候補なんですからね。
You more than the rest of us? The loosening threads of tension became taut again. Shion, however, burst out laughing.
じゃあ、私はお姉に出くわす前に退散します。今日は本当に疲れてるから、お姉とやり合えるだけの体力はないですし。
シオンって、ミオンと仲がいいのか悪いのか、よくわからないな。
仲、いいですよ。
Though as she said that, her vague expression explained that there are a lot of oddities in a relationship between twins.
俺は一人っ子だからよくわかんないな。せいぜい仲良くしろよ。
はい。余計なおせっかいと受けたまわります。それじゃあ私はこの辺。ケイちゃんも急いで行った方がいいですよ。本当に綿流しが終わっちゃいます。
Shion stood up and brushed the dust off her backside. After watching her do so, I returned my eyes to the final ceremony of the Watanagashi festival below me.
でも本当に、あの音は何だったんでしょうね。
What sound?
不愉快というか、気味が悪いというか。
何の音だって？
音ですよ。ドタンバタンって。うるさかったじゃないですか。
I was giving her a blank expression, so Shion stared hard at me. I stared hard at her too.
ごめん、シオン。はしょらないで最初から説明してくれないか。何がうるさかったって？
When?
ケイちゃん、あれ、気にならなかったんですか？
When all said and done, it was like we were speaking two different languages.
シオン、冗談抜きで初めから説明してくれないか。音がどうしたって？
ケイちゃんこそ冗談抜きで、本当に気にならなかったんですか？
Neither of us was giving any ground, and both of us were staring at each other in disbelief. We were answering questions with more questions, with no sign of an actual conversation in sight. Baffled, I held in the urge to shout at her, and asked politely one more time.
もう一度聞くからな。質問は俺からだ。
Shion nodded silently.
じゃあ聞くぞ。音がしたって何のことだ？
ドタンバタンって。
When? Where?
なんだかどこか遠くの板の間で子供が跳ねてるような。
When?
本当に気にならなかったんですか？
気にならないも何も。
A kid jumping up and down? That doesn't...
そんな音いつ聞こえた？
Finally.
俺は何も聞いてないぞ。
ちょっとケイちゃん、それ本気で言ってるんですか？
Shion, as if she didn't understand my plain and simple answer, pressed me further, her expression serious. I have no clue what she's talking about, but if it has Shion acting like this, whatever it was, it gave me the creeps and sent a chill down my spine.
さっき最後伝の中で高野さんと一緒に見て回ってる最中、
Why didn't you show any reaction then in that case?
高野さんが昔話を始めた頃からかな。少しずつ、だんだんと、ちょくちょくと。
She heard a banging sound like a child jumping on distant floorboards.
嘘だろ？最後の最後で怖がらせるのはなしだぜ、おい。
I didn't hear anything at all. In fact, it was so utterly silent in there that my own heartbeat was almost deafening.
ケイちゃんこそ、怖がらせないでください。なんだか、高野さんの怖い話に合わせて音を立ててるようで、私、ずっと薄気味悪かったんですから。
The chill rose from my spine to the back of my head. My blood turned cold as it crawled up my body. When it reached my head, my mind froze over.
ケイちゃんも高野さんも、全然意にも介さない風だったので、私も聞こえないふりをずっとしてましたけど、聞こえましたよね。何度かは、すごく大きな音でしたから。
Shion's eyes were begging me to tell her I heard it. I had no doubt, however, that my own eyes suggested something entirely different. Ah, you gotta be kidding me, look. In that storehouse, we were surrounded by brutal ritual tools that looked like they were from another planet, listening to terrifying old stories. The whole time, Shion had been hearing a sound that we couldn't hear by herself. Should that make Shion, who heard it, tremble, or should it make me, who didn't hear it, tremble? I didn't know the answer to that one at the time. For now, Shion seemed to have made that decision before I did. JK's?
なんだよ、突然。
引っかかりましたね、ケイちゃん。
Sure did.
嘘ですよ。嘘。
はあ？
Shion laughed, saying how easily scared I was, and then clapped me on the back. Okay. What the fuck happened here, dude? Her smile seemed somehow artificial and actually made me feel worse. Then, after leaving me with 2 or 3 generic diplomatic goodbye phrases, she left, almost like she was running away. All I could do was look after her, my mouth agape. At the end of the day, I didn't have a clue what was going on. Shion laughed it off and said she had been lying, but she couldn't possibly have been lying. Of course not. And now that I think back, Tomitake-san said the same thing, didn't he? Okay. So since we didn't hear it, and I assume Takano didn't hear it, considering Tomitake-kun heard it, and the fact that Shion heard it, and the fact that Tomitake-kun dies, or died in Chapter 1, and the fact that we did not see Shion in Chapter 1 at all, I assume the only ones who could have heard that noise were the possible victims, or the eventual victims?
なんだかドタンバタンと飛び跳ねるような音がよく聞こえたからね。僕は不安で。
Tomitake-san, the most neutral party present at the time, had said he had heard something. Then that noise, it was real? The banging sounds. Sounds as though a child was jumping up and down on some kind of floorboards far away. Or Yashiro-sama's curse, which happens every year, might happen again tonight. The most plausible victim candidates were Takano-san, Tomitake-san, Shion, and me. The bustling of the people sounded further away than I would have liked, and the sounds of the insects sounded too close for comfort. I'm near so much human warmth, and yet I can't ever go back there again. That was the ominous idea that sprouted in my mind. Then all of a sudden, I was pounced on from behind, causing my heart to lurch.
ケイチ、見つけたなのです。
It was Rika-chan. When I turned around, Mion and Rena were there too.
やっと見つけた。あとはさとこか。
今年はみんなはぐれちゃったね。来年からはちゃんと合流場所を決めておきたいな。
そうだね。やっぱりお祭りはみんなと一緒でないとね。
I listened to Mion's happy declaration with a little bit of guilt.
圭一は僕の演舞はちゃんと応援してくれましたですか？
You know I did.
ああ、ちゃんと見てたぜ。最後までちゃんと頑張ったな。ミスもなかったし。
Don't lie.
うん、そうだよリカちゃん。あんなのはミスのうちに入らないよ。
I tensed up as I realized I had made a mistake of my own. Mion slapped a hand onto my shoulder a little roughly. A gross sweat broke out over my whole body. Listen, fam, I gotta peep this. She has a gun! What the fuck? Where did she get a gun?
ケイちゃんはやった？綿をもらって沢に流した？
No. You haven't yet, right? Is what I could feel her saying. Without the courage to tell any more lies, I lifelessly shook my head.
あれ？そうなの圭一くん。早く行かないと終わっちゃうよ。終わっちゃうよ。
ごめん。初めてのお祭りだからさ。よくルールがわからなくて。
そうだったね。ごめん。
Mion took my hand and we started walking down the stone steps.
ねえケイちゃん。
なんだよ。
シオンには会わなかった？
I did. My heart skipped another beat. Maybe Mion could sense my surprise through my hand.
いや、でも、姿を見たような。でも、ミオンとそっくりだからな。ミオンだったのかも。
そんなに間違えないでしょ？服装だって違うんだから。
そうだよな。
Mion's momentary silence was like a death whip upon me.
しょうがないな、シオンは。まあ、あいつのことだから、放っておいても大丈夫かな。
Mion's expression returned to her former usual smile, and we continued down the stone steps, her firmly pulling my hand along. I actually might. Watanagashi. The rite of Watanagashi is performed during a village festival every June, even now, but reading back to its origin turns up a seriously sanguine ceremony. Originally, Watanagashi would happen at certain intervals after receiving Oyashiro-sama's trust. They chose a sacrifice. Then, the entire village would kidnap, demon away, the person and ceremonially dissect and devour them in a feast. Oh my god. The rules that determine the intervals are shrouded in mystery. This is because the ceremonies occurred extremely irregularly. There is a theory that it was determined based on astrological fortune-telling, but it isn't too convincing. The resident of ancient Onigafuchi firmly believed that they were half-man, half-demon transcendents, and that they were more valuable than humans were, and they forced people within and without to accept that. Perhaps the act of kidnapping and eating people was done to prove that they were higher up on the food chain. This is just a hypothesis, but the rite of Watanagashi was a political event for the purpose of being an outlet or outright diverting the attention of the villagers of the isolated Onigafuchi village. In any case, any of their complaints or dissatisfactions grew serious. If that was the main reason these ceremonies were held, then it's easy to explain how erratic they were. The alleged importance of the implement. I can't find anything that gives a concrete description of what the ritual implements were like. They were, however, real, and there definitely existed a multitude of different kinds. One source states that the implements used in the Watanagashi rite alone number 200. The obvious question then is why they require such a myriad of them. The rite of Watanagashi was to kidnap people through the demoning away, dissect them, and eat them. I believe the tools were for dissection and restraining, but 200 of them is far too many. Generally, tools evolve in such a way as to reach a solution for a certain problem. Once you've reached the ultimate goal, that is, attained a certain level of efficiency, the tool's evolution normally stops there. Regardless, why would they have created so many different kinds? One of the cultural elements responsible for diversification over time is that of entertainment. Tools used for entertainment would evolve over time and branch out. Unlike normal tools, reaching the ultimate goal would be more of a dead end, and in searching for the next goal, they would split into many different subtypes. So then, perhaps it's not a stretch to suggest that these 200 plus implements had some entertainment value. This is just a hypothesis, of course, but maybe the human dissection process was viewed as a type of entertainment. The three families of old would develop one new implement, dissection tool, after another, and each was varied, novel, and attracted spectators to keep them from growing bored. It's not unimaginable. All of them have to be enshrined within that storehouse. There isn't much longer until the night of Watanagashi. Though its original intent has been lost, I will reveal the secrets of the traditional ceremonial night within the ritual storehouse. I can't restrain my excitement. Watanagashi cannot come soon enough. Late that night, tensions in the police station were strained. In the silence, many of the staff members' eyes shifted back and forth between the clock and their telephones, counting the seconds in that stifled atmosphere. Kumagaya-kun burst in with a young guy trailing behind him.
おいさん、こっちは検視入りました。じいさまもさっき到着です。俺もスタンバイ OK しました。このまま焼死の現場へ直行します。
クマちゃん、ちょっと話がややこしくなりました。
まさか4年前のあれっすか？
いいえ、こんがりといい感じだそうで。
He spoke in sportive tones, but the meaning behind his words was heavy. The staff gave a collective sigh.
頭のてっぺんから丸々？
ばっちり黒焦げだそうで、あっちの現場かわいそうだな。
Cooked, with no possessions, then discarded outside the prefecture. At worst, it would have taken a week for the body to be identified. The fact that they had sniffed it out tonight was huge.
今、小宮山君たちが沖宮の歯科医を根こそぎ野襲してます。カルテで歯型照合するしかないでしょう。ごめん、誰かきつめのタバコ2箱ぐらい買ってきてくれません？
The young guy answered in affirmation and darted out into the hallway.
今年は見事見つけましたね。ひょっとすると過去の失踪者もこんな感じで県外で殺されてたんすかね。
なら埋めればいいじゃないですか。重りつけて日本海でも。
でもどうして一人死んで一人消えるのがこれまでのパターンじゃないですか。
クマちゃん、仏は拘束なしでドラム缶の中でこんがりでしょう。見つかることを覚悟の上でです。
After strangling them.
じゃあつまり今年は消す気は初めからなかったってことっすか？
消す気がないってよりは、これはそれとは全く別のものでしょうね。
つまり見せしめの意味があるってことっすか？
He folded his arms and then heaved a long and heavy sigh.
それをしないでやってくれりゃその線もあるんですがね。こんな遠くまで運んで焼いちゃったら下手したらわかんないでしょう。見せしめにするならhinamizawaの近くでやるべきなんですよ。殺したことを主張したいのに 場所は演出効果の確実じゃない遠方。主張したいのか隠したいのか。今年は何考えてるのかな、お社様は。
A telephone ring cut through the heavy silence. A staff member nearby snatched up the receiver.
おいさん、小宮山さんです。出ました。沖宮のデンタルクリニックで3年前に親知らずの治療をしてます。
カルテは？
レントゲン付きでバッチリと。
いやー、こんな明け方前に歯医者さんには申し訳ないな。クマちゃん、小宮山君からカルテ受け取ったらすぐに出発してください。
了解っす。課長です。夜分お疲れ様です。
大石さん、遅くなって申し訳ない。状況は？
やっと面白くなってきたってとこですかね。わお！
What? Very interesting reaction. Very, very interesting reaction. Okay. First of all, apologies for the very, very, very long episode, man. I felt like it had to be done. Originally, it was actually 2 episodes in one, but I've only been recording for 25 minutes for the second part, and it feels weird that... It feels weird if I stop the recording right now, and it feels weird if I start another chapter now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a 1 megasode where those of you who are interested in the night of the festival, you can view it from start to finish. And that's going to sadly mean that the video and episode is very long. Either way, it's high time that we called an episode. I will see you guys next episode, man. I'm out of here. Love y'all and deuces.